In the fall of 2015, JetBlue passenger Jeff Rubin, aged 27, slept through most of a 3-hour flight from Anchorage, Alaska to Portland, Oregon. According to an arrest report, about 30 minutes before landing, Rubin stood up and began urinating through the crack of the seat onto the passengers seated in front of him. As he was doing so, the man lost his balance and fell backwards, further relieving himself on other flyers and their belongings. The man then got back into his seat, where upon landing, Portland police found him slumped and sleeping. Rubin was arrested and booked at the Multnomah County Detention Center on misdemeanor charges of criminal mischief and offensive littering. Number 8. Eugenio Ernesto Hernandez Garnea. In August of 2024, Eugenio Ernesto Hernandez Garnea and his partner, Euslidis Blanca Loyola, boarded a plane bound for Las Vegas at the Miami International Airport. The American Airlines flight crew became immediately concerned upon noticing that 27-year-old Hernandez Garnea had a bloody head. It would emerge that the Nevada resident had traveled to Miami for a hair transplant, but the surgery was still fresh and doctors hadn't cleared him to fly. Crew asked Hernandez Garnea to deboard out of concerns for his medical condition and the potential for contamination inside the cabin. Hernandez Garnea and Loyola refused to get off, with the latter telling the crew that if they couldn't fly, no one else can either. The couple remained standoffish even after 911 was called and local law enforcement boarded the plane. Loyola, who'd also gotten cosmetic surgery during the trip, went live on TikTok during a confrontation with the officers and accused them of abuse and discrimination. In her stream, Hernandez Garnea was seen with dried blood on his head and a bandage that was coming off. The couple refused to leave after multiple requests from law enforcement and had to be forcibly removed from the plane. During the physical struggle that followed, Loyola started yelling in Spanish, saying that the cops were hitting her partner, who just had surgery. The couple were arrested for trespassing after a warning and resisting an officer without violence. Number 7. Jet 2 Flight LS997 incident. A Jet 2 flight from Manchester to Fuerteventura, Spain, was forced to make a stop in Faro, Portugal, on May the 10th of 2024 so that a disruptive passenger could be removed from the plane. The man, who was wearing a North Face fleece jacket, reportedly engaged in various drunken antics during the flight. When Portuguese police officers boarded the plane, they found him screaming and clapping while out of his seat. The passenger was promptly shut down as he tried to throw a friendly arm around one of the officers. The feral flyer seemed to take pride in his actions. As he passed the passenger recording him, he leaned into the camera and said, "Oi, I'm doing this for Manchester, for Oldham." The man on the other end of the camera ignored him and thanked the police for removing him. As he was led out, the troublemaker tried to grab the back of the plane but was overpowered by the police, resulting in an outburst of cheers from other passengers. In the incident's wake, a Jet 2 spokesperson told the media, "The disruptive passenger has been banned from flying with us for life, and we will not hesitate to pursue costs that were incurred as a result of this divert." Number 6. Daniela Vales Reyes. A plane traveling from Miami to Chicago was diverted to Indianapolis on September the 14th of 2015 after 25-year-old passenger Daniela Vales Reyes went on an intoxicated rampage inside the cabin. The incident began with the woman hitting another passenger in the shoulder after he'd complained that she was kicking his seat. According to witness reports, a female flight attendant intervened, led Vales Reyes to the back of the plane and asked her to calm down. In the moments that followed, Vales Reyes grabbed the flight attendant and kissed her before punching her in the face. Other crew members consequently tried to bind the out-of-control woman with zip ties. She put up such a ferocious fight that the pilot issued a call through the PA system, asking able-bodied men aboard the American Airlines flight to help restrain her. Chicago man Darnell Wilson was one of 4 male passengers to answer the call. He later recounted that the immobilized Vales Reyes kept hollering that she was going to mess herself, like she was cursing people out. It was really absurd. Wilson added, even after she was bound, the woman kept trying to bite and kick the passengers and flight attendants. A video captured after the plane had landed in Indianapolis showed Vales Reyes being escorted by police officers. On her way out, the woman kneed an officer in the thigh and screamed, "Ow, call my mum." The following year, she pleaded guilty to felony charges of resisting law enforcement and disorderly conduct. Vales Reyes was sentenced to 18 months probation and 300 hours of community service, with the judge also ordering her to complete a substance abuse evaluation and attend Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. Number 5. Ariel Pennington. 35-year-old Ariel Pennington flew into a drunken rage while aboard a Delta flight traveling from Arlington, Virginia to Los Angeles on December the 9th of 2021. The man was reported to have begun ranting about slavery before he attacked a flight attendant. An air marshal intervened and tried to talk Pennington down, but the latter remained aggressive and eventually charged him as well. An altercation ensued, but the marshal was able to subdue the crazed passenger. Due to Pennington's unruly behavior, the flight was diverted to Will Rogers World Airport in Oklahoma City. Social media clips showed local law enforcement taking Pennington into custody as he kept ranting that he was being treated unfairly. In the spring of 2022, under a plea deal, Pennington admitted interference with a flight attendant. Number 4. Incident on Jet 2 flight to Tenerife. In June of 2024, an unnamed 20-year-old man was subdued and restrained after going berserk on a plane traveling from Glasgow, Scotland to the Spanish island of Tenerife. The man, who'd been drinking heavily, began attacking passengers and crew members on the Jet 2 flight. He was eventually overpowered, pinned to the ground, and had his legs tied together with a seat belt. The plane made a brief stop at Shannon Airport in Ireland so that the disruptive passenger could be removed by Garda officers. A Snapchat clip showed the man, who was only wearing shorts, screaming as he was being dragged along the aisle by law enforcement. The video was captioned, "Tenerife, then Ireland it is." The man was booked at a police station in County Clare, where the plane resumed its course. Number 3. Niusha Afkami. On December the 10th of 2023, as she was preparing to fly out of Austin, Texas, 27-year-old California woman Niusha Afkami called an Uber and headed to Austin Bergstrom International Airport. The woman at some point became frustrated with how long the ride was taking. She grew increasingly agitated and eventually grabbed the driver's phone out of their hands and threw it out the moving car's window. When the driver stopped to retrieve the device, Afkami commandeered the 2016 Chevrolet Cruze and drove off, leaving the driver stranded on East Cesar Chavez Street. The victim retrieved their phone and called the Austin Police Department. Officers subsequently found the stolen vehicle abandoned at an airport terminal. Afkami was arrested before she could board a plane, but told law enforcement that the driver had actually allowed her to take their car, a statement that went against the victim's version of events. It was also discovered that Afkami had stolen the Uber driver's wallet and used their credit card to make purchases amounting to roughly $120 for items that included candy and a shot glass. Afkami was charged with unauthorized use of a motor vehicle and credit or debit card abuse, both felonies and each carrying a sentence of up to 2 years in jail. Today's topic was requested by Sneakers Lifestyle 87 and Stephanie McCord 6100. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Incident on United Airlines flight. In July of 2024, a young woman became enraged on United Airlines Flight 762 from Miami to Newark after she was reportedly blocked from getting into the plane's bathroom. She verbally and physically attacked a family at the back of the plane, undeterred by the fact that their children were screaming. Crew separated her from the family, but the young woman's anger only grew. She started spitting and throwing punches at crew and other passengers. Flight attendants restrained her wrists with zip ties at the front of her body. The young woman, who was wearing a Scarface shirt, remained aggressive, and other passengers recorded her as she was grappling with 3 crew members. When a male flight attendant bear hugged her in a desperate effort to move her to another section of the plane, she bit into his shoulder repeatedly and tore off pieces of his uniform with her teeth. The passenger recording the video gasped in shock as pieces of fabric floated to the floor. The woman then screamed at the top of her lungs, "Stop touching me, let go of me, I'm a girl, are you trying to kill me?" after her hands were tied at the back, she persisted in her belligerence, cursing out other passengers, including one woman whom she threatened to kill and told to go back to Russia. The plane changed course and touched down in Orlando. Multiple flyers cheered and applauded when the unhinged woman was removed from the plane. If you think these preposterous airplane passengers weren't bad enough, then stick around to see our previous release of When Living in the Fast Lane Goes Wrong, coming up right after number 1. Number 1. Neil McCarthy. 25-year-old Neil McCarthy forced American Airlines Flight 3921 from Chicago to Manchester, New Hampshire to make an emergency stop in Buffalo, New York on July 10th of 2024 after he'd had multiple drinks. McCarthy exposed himself and started urinating on the plane's aisle. Another passenger took a photo of him in the act. The police in Buffalo deplaned and arrested the man, charging him with indecent exposure. McCarthy told law enforcement that he'd had several Jack and Cokes before boarding the plane in Portland, Oregon, and several more during his layover in Chicago. He claimed that he'd been flicking the bean due to a medical problem he'd experienced after returning from the plane's lavatory. The case was ongoing as of the latest reports on the matter, and McCarthy faced a maximum penalty of 6 months in prison and a $5,000 fine. Johnny Morrissey served as the CEO of the high-profile Nero Vodka Company, while simultaneously running an elaborate money laundering operation for the Spanish cartel led by Danielle Kinahan. The sensitive nature of Morrissey's illicit business would typically lend itself well to discretion. However, the man and his stylish moll, Nicola, exerted very little effort in protecting their wealth and status from the public eye. As the Scotland-based vodka firm's bosses, the Morrisseys regularly appeared in paparazzi photos with well-known celebrities and business bigwigs. They were also known for hosting opulent fundraising galas, including a special gladiator-themed bash held at Marbella's 5-star Puente Romano Hotel. Johnny and Nicola's fast-paced lifestyle and the exorbitant wealth they often showcased publicly eventually drew the attention of American authorities. Just as Nero Vodka was preparing to expand operations to the US, investigators began to take a closer look at the Morrisseys in the summer of 2022. With the increased spotlight now fixed squarely on their illegal dealings, Johnny and Nicola swapped their multi-million-dollar Marbella mansion for a modest hideaway flat in an attempt to mitigate suspicions. Following the move, they reportedly became despised by their new neighbors, frequently getting into disputes with locals, including the community president. The Morrisseys weren't long for their new living situation, however, as local police swooped in to arrest them in September of 2022. Johnny had reportedly laundered more than $200 million for the Kinahan cartel over the previous 18-month period. As the conniving couple awaited their legal proceedings, it emerged that Daniel Kinahan himself was furious at his former money launderer for flaunting his wealth so publicly, thereby drawing suspicions from law enforcement. Number 6. Jo Emma Larvin. Jo Emma Larvin, a British glamour model and the ex-girlfriend of Welsh boxer Joe Calzaghe, came under law enforcement scrutiny for her alleged role in a $125 million smuggling ring. Larvin began participating in the illicit enterprise in September of 2020 when she was tasked with carrying suitcases full of cash on board a flight to Dubai. She reportedly met with a handler at a Starbucks in Knightsbridge before being picked up by a driver and taken to Heathrow. The model was accompanied by 27-year-old Amy Harrison. Upon arrival at the airport, she texted her partner Jonathan Johnson saying she was nervous. In court, Larvin would attempt to attribute the message to first-day nerves, indicating she had no idea she was working for a criminal organization. She claimed that at the time she was under the impression that she was employed directly by the United Arab Emirates. Larvin made a second trip with Johnson in which they smuggled $3.5 million, using ordinary holiday items to disguise the cash, which was divvied up into 8 different suitcases. After authorities caught on to the woman's exploits, she was arrested and charged with transferring criminal property, as were Johnson, Harrison, and 2 other co-defendants named Liam Rabone and Beatrice Orty. The individual who spearheaded the operation was identified as 48-year-old Abdullah Al-Falassi, from Dubai. He was jailed for 9 years in July of 2022. Despite her claims of innocence, 44-year-old Larvin was found guilty in court during the spring of 2023. Number 5. Danielle Stafford. Although Danielle Stafford led a seemingly ordinary life as an engineer in the English village of Cottingham, the 29-year-old was known to spend inordinate sums of money splurging on lavish vacations, investment properties and other luxury items. No one seemed to question how the woman was obtaining the funds to bankroll her lavish lifestyle until she was pulled over by the police on the evening of May the 12th of 2020. Stafford was behind the wheel of a silver Audi heading towards Hull city centre along Priory Road. Officers allegedly clocked her travelling above the posted speed limit and subsequently initiated a traffic stop. What began as a routine police procedure quickly developed into a more serious investigation. Law enforcement detected the pungent stench of marijuana upon approaching Stafford's Audi. The woman reportedly handed them a small wrap containing 2 buds of cannabis skunk and claimed that was all she had. However, following a more extensive search of the car, officers uncovered a carrier bag full of marijuana behind the driver's seat. Additional bags of cannabis were found on Stafford's person, and she was consequently detained. While she was being brought to the police station, the woman's phone repeatedly rang. She received upwards of 30 phone calls and 20 text messages, which the police found suspicious. Stafford was also seen fidgeting with her pants, and shortly thereafter, officers removed a bag containing a large amount of cocaine from between her legs. Additional drugs with a street value of approximately $40,000 were found at the woman's home, as was $34,000 in cash. As it subsequently emerged, Stafford had been living a double life as a drug kingpin for roughly 3 years. The illicit business enabled her to live well above her means as an engineer without touching any of her job salary. Around the fall of 2017, the woman had begun dealing cannabis as an enthusiast. However, her criminal exploits eventually escalated to the point where she was dealing cocaine and heroin as well. Stafford attempted to downplay her involvement in the drug trade, claiming she'd been manipulated into her life of crime by a man from Liverpool. She initially denied all 9 offences levied against her, but ultimately pleaded guilty to 4 charges. At Hull Crown Court in April of 2023, Stafford was sentenced to 7.5 years behind bars. Number 4. The Albanians. Residents of the Gascoigne estate in Barking, London, were terrorised by the emergence of Albanian gangsters in their community. The so-called Albanians gang gained widespread notoriety in 2017 when many of their members started releasing rap music videos in which they bragged about their various criminal endeavours. In January of 2023, an East London woman told the press that the gangsters routinely behave in an intimidating manner in order to strike fear into locals and assert their dominance. The same resident, who lived on the estate for over 2 decades before the Albanians began their reign of terror, said she once stumbled upon a large knife near her home. She also spoke about a particularly harrowing night on which she was jolted awake by the sound of her dogs barking. Upon hearing a commotion outside, the woman opened her front door to find armed police officers taking aim at her and screaming for her to get back inside. She later learned that local law enforcement had been conducting a raid aimed at dismantling a rent-a-gun operation in southeast England. 10 individuals were taken into custody for numerous offences, including conspiracy to possess a firearm with intent to endanger life and conspiracy to commit great bodily harm with intent. Back in 2016, 3 Albanians had been jailed for more than 42 years in connection with the gang's criminal activity. However, as of 2023, the group was still wreaking havoc on the Barking community. They openly flaunt their wealth and various weaponry on social media, where they've amassed nearly 100,000 followers. Number 3. Joseph de Normandy and Christopher Wetmore. On the night of November the 20th of 2014, New York City police descended upon the East 23rd Street apartment belonging to Quest agency model Christopher Wetmore. The 25-year-old, previously appeared in GQ Style magazine and modeled for prominent brands such as Rockaware and Diesel. Wetmore was charged with criminal sale of a controlled substance and conspiracy. He'd been participating in a cocaine and LSD delivery service run out of an apartment in Chelsea. A fellow male model by the name of Joseph de Normandy was likewise arrested for taking part in the drug ring. 20-year-old de Normandy reportedly sold acid and $2,500 worth of cocaine to an undercover cop, insisting the substances had been tested by a chemist for purity. Julia Arcia, the teen daughter of a former Brooklyn prosecutor, was also alleged to have taken part in the drug deals. However, her lawyer contended that she'd only been present for the illicit transactions because of her boyfriend, who was involved in the drug trade as well. 25-year-old Wetmore ultimately pleaded guilty to his crimes and was consequently jailed for 90 days. The punishments doled out for his co-defendants wasn't made clear. Number 2. The Camorra Clan. Italy's Camorra mob rose to notoriety in the area of the Castelli Romani and the Lazio coast during the 1980s and 90s. The members were said to take part in a wide variety of criminal activities. At its peak, the organization was generating millions of dollars from illegal money lending and drugs as part of a complex criminal network in the city of Rome. The gang became known for charging excessively high interest rates on loans. Victims of the Camorra clan were often issued threats of violence to prevent them from going to the authorities. Members of the clan would often flaunt the extravagant trappings of their wealthy lifestyles on social media. A Camorra mobster named Ottavio Spada posed in several photographs showcasing luxury items such as Rolex watches, which were described as a symbol for the gang. In the summer of 2018, reports surfaced regarding a large-scale Italian police raid targeting the gang at their illegally constructed luxury villas on the outskirts of Rome. The law enforcement operation involved upwards of 250 officers and led to the arrests of 33 suspects, including Spada. Number 1. Angie San Clemente, Valencia. On December the 13th of 2009, the police at Ezeiza International Airport in Argentina intercepted a 21-year-old female flyer with a suitcase containing suspicious cargo. The young woman, identified only as Ariel L., was detained after she tried to board a flight to Cancun with over 120 pounds of cocaine in her luggage. Ariel had reportedly made no attempts to conceal the illicit substances, which led investigators to believe that there were members of airport staff helping the smuggling ring, for which she was working as a courier. After questioning the young woman, authorities arrested 3 other suspects and issued a warrant for the arrest of Angie San Clemente, Valencia. The latter initially rose to prominence by winning the Reinado Nacional del Café, a Colombian beauty pageant, back in 2000. 2 days after the victory, however, she was forced to give up her crown, as it was determined that she was married at the time, in violation of the competition's rules. Valencia had previously dated a Mexican drug lord known as the Monster. Following their split, the woman established a rival drug empire, allegedly recruiting other models, whom she referred to as her unsuspicious beautiful angels, to serve as traffickers. She'd reportedly pay them up to $5,000 per trip to smuggle cocaine from Argentina to England by way of Cancun. That was Ariel L's planned route on the day she was apprehended, the day Valencia's life of crime began to unravel. The drug baroness went into hiding after her associate's arrest, but she was ultimately located in Buenos Aires in May of 2010. In the media, Valencia became known as the narco queen because of her looks and upscale sensibilities. Upon her arrival in Argentina, the woman had reportedly flown first class with a Pomeranian dog in her lap, further cementing her luxurious public image. Valencia was ultimately given a prison sentence of 6 years and 8 months for her criminal exploits. She was released after serving only half of her term, after which she was deported back to her home country of Colombia and banned from ever returning to Argentina. Thanks for watching. For the rest of your life, would you rather fly for free or eat for free anywhere you wanted? Let us know in the comments section below.